Okay, so today we're diving deep into the world of, well, I guess you could say extreme endurance.
Definitely extreme.
Yeah. James Lawrence, you might know him as the Iron Cowboy.
Yeah, the Iron Cowboy.
He's the guy that did 50 Ironmans in 50 states in 50 days.
It's unbelievable.
Crazy, right? And we're going to be looking at his upcoming book called Iron Hope, Lessons Learned from Conquering the Impossible.
I love that title.
It's a great title, right?
Yeah.
And it comes out January 21st, 2025. So just around the corner.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. So to get ready for that, we're going to be taking a look at some excerpts from the book's publicity materials.
Okay.
And also a really interesting pre-publication review from Publishers Weekly.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And what we really want to try and figure out today is, how can we as normal people apply the mental strategies of this incredible endurance athlete to our own lives?
Yeah, because he's got to have something figured out, right? To be able to do what he does.
He's got to have some secrets.
Yeah, some sort of mindset.
Yeah. So one of the things that's really interesting is that the book doesn't just focus on the physical side of endurance.
Okay.
He really tried to dig into the mental strategies that he uses to overcome what most people would consider impossible.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because we all face challenges in our lives.
Right.
Whether it's work deadlines or creative projects or just personal goals that feel really daunting.
Right.
So if we can learn from someone like James Lawrence, who's obviously pushed himself to the absolute limit,
to the max,
we can probably take away some valuable lessons for our own lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that really stuck out to me in the Publishers Weekly review was that he actually did this 100 Ironmans in 100 days challenge during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? Like most people were barely holding it together.
Right, like just trying to get through the day.
Yeah, exactly. And this guy is out there doing 100 Ironmans in 100 days.
That's incredible.
It makes you wonder, what kind of mindset do you need?
Yeah, what's driving him?
What's driving him, right? To push yourself to that extreme level during such a crazy time.
That's a great point, and I think it speaks to his dedication.
Yeah.
The fact that he was using this challenge to inspire others during a time when people were feeling so down and uncertain about the future.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool aspect of it.
Absolutely.
And the review also doesn't hold back on the physical toll.
Right.
They talk about lost toenails, thrush, cracked lips, really gruesome stuff.
It's hard to even imagine.
It's hard to even imagine the pain.
Yeah, the kind of suffering he must have endured.
But I think you made a really good point earlier that it's not about glorifying the pain.
Exactly. The point isn't to suffer for the sake of suffering.
Right.
It's about learning from James Lawrence's ability to push through those tough moments.
Yeah, it's about mental resilience.
Yeah, that's the key takeaway here.
Right, and that's something that everyone listening can actually, take away and apply to their own challenges.
Absolutely. Because we all face those moments where we want to give up.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's about finding that inner strength to keep going.
Yeah, and the book seems to lay out some really specific strategies for doing just that.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear about some of those.
So one of the things that really stuck out to me is what he calls the power of small commitments.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's this idea of making and honoring tiny promises to yourself.
Right.
As a way to build momentum toward bigger goals.
So it's like breaking down those big, overwhelming goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Yeah, bite-sized pieces.
I like that. And I think there's a lot of research to support that approach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Every time we follow through on a commitment, even a small one, it releases dopamine in our brains.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And dopamine is a neurotransmitter that's associated with pleasure and reward.
So it makes us feel good.
Exactly. It makes us feel good, and it reinforces that behavior.
So we're more likely to keep doing it.
Exactly. It's like creating a positive feedback loop.
I love that.
Where those small wins fuel our motivation and help us tackle those bigger challenges.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And there's another strategy that he talks about that I think is really fascinating.
Okay, what's that?
He's a big believer in the power of positive self-talk.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
And in the review, he even says that you can actually rewire your brain to think more positively.
That's a bold statement.
Yeah, it is. But there's actually a lot of science behind it.
There is, yeah.
Like cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT, right?
Yeah.
It's all about recognizing those negative thought patterns and consciously replacing them with more positive and constructive ones.
Yeah, it's like catching yourself when you're spiraling into negative self-talk.
Right.
And then choosing to reframe the situation in a more positive light.
Yeah. So instead of thinking, I can't do this.
Right.
You might say, this is tough, but I'm going to give it my all.
Exactly. Or I'm going to learn from this experience no matter what the outcome is.
I love that. It sounds so deceptively simple.
It does, but it can be really powerful.
Yeah. And I think it ties in nicely with that idea of small commitments.
Absolutely.
Because when you're feeling positive and motivated, you're more likely to follow through on those commitments.
Exactly. And that builds momentum and helps you stay on track towards your goals.
It all connects.
It's all connected.
But there is one thing in the review that I was a little bit hesitant about.
Okay.
There's a quote from James Lawrence where he talks about needing to embrace pain even when it defies logic.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I mean, that's a pretty intense statement.
It is, and I think it's important to take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
Because there's a difference between pushing your boundaries and risking serious injury or burnout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, we're not all iron cowboys.
Exactly. We need to listen to our bodies and be mindful of our limits.
Right. You don't want to push yourself to the point of no return.
Exactly. And I think it's always a good idea to seek professional guidance.
Yes, definitely.
If you're unsure about how far you should be pushing yourself.
So, with all that said, this book seems like it could be incredibly valuable for anyone.
Yeah.
Who's facing a challenge in their life, whether it's training for a marathon or starting a business.
Or just trying to overcome a personal obstacle.
Absolutely. It's really a deep dive into mental resilience and the power of the human spirit.
And I think it's a reminder that we're all capable of achieving more than we think we are.
I like that. Okay, so let's recap the key takeaways from our deep dive today.
Sounds good.
Mental toughness is not something you're born with. It's a skill you can develop.
Absolutely.
And it seems like the foundation of that is making and honoring small commitments.
Right.
Building momentum towards those big goals and using positive self-talk to overcome those inevitable moments of self-doubt.
Yeah, and I think what's most inspiring about James Lawrence's story is that it encourages us to ask ourselves, what's our own impossible goal?
Yeah, that's a great question to think about.
And how can we apply these principles to achieve it?
Yeah, I love that. So if you're interested in learning more about James Lawrence's methods, his book, Iron Hope, comes out January 21st, 2025.
Mark your calendars.
We'll also include some links to resources on mental resilience and goal setting in the show notes.
Awesome.
So until next time, keep pushing those boundaries, and remember, anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
If you set your mind to it.
I love it.
All right, that's it for today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It was great having you.
It was fun.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Sounds good. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.